Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third day of YMCA Queensland Youth Parliament. I'm joined here by the chair people of the Environment and Sustainability Committee, who just got back from their debate on the Renewable Energy and Sustainable Resource Management Youth Bill. I'm joined by Holly Summers, who is the member for Gavin, and Laura Byron, who's the member for Gympie. How are we both doing?
Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be finally done with your bill and all that work to be sort of compiled into this one moment? Is it sort of relieving to be done now?
Quite refreshing. And also, it's a very satisfying feeling knowing that hard work is paid off and is going towards hopefully making some positive changes.
Yeah, definitely a bit more laid back now that we aren't worried about doing speeches or anything anymore. And yeah, a lot of hard work, a lot of Zoom calls and writing up bills, writing up amendments that, yeah, it's definitely relieving to have it all gone through and to passed. Yeah.
Great to hear. No, I know from my own experience at Youth Parliament, like it seems like, it's such a short time that you're left with debating this bill that it doesn't seem like much, but I know how much work goes into this. It's months of work of calling people and working together on these bills and these amendments. So yeah, no, I fully appreciate the amount of work that you've obviously done. Um, so my first question is about the work that you've both done in your separate subcommittees. What has it been like writing this bill and preparing amendments? I'll start with you, Holly. What has it been like working on this bill over the last few months?
Well, we had an amazing team, a lot of very dedicated people. Uh, it was amazing to see the passion that these people shared, with me as well. Um, Seeing the fact that we were also committed to creating change is super refreshing, and it gives you a sense of hope for the future. Absolutely. It's also been an absolute honor to get to know a lot of the other committee members, some of whom have become close friends of mine now. Yeah, so there's so many mixed emotions. It's while it was very stressful, um, it was rewarding, and now that it's finished, it's unbelievable, but it's so amazing.
That's really great to hear. How about you, Laura? What has it been like working on this bill?
Yeah, I share a lot of the same sentiments as Holly that like originally, of course, we were all the same committee, we brainstormed together and just that we all share the same passion. We're all like-minded people who really cared about our environment and everything around us. And that was certainly very refreshing, where you don't always experience that in your everyday life with people with the same passions as you, because of course you're going to have variants. And then when we split up into refuting, which is my committee, and sponsoring, refuting, we had four members because of personal reasons somebody had to drop out. So there was a lot of communication, a lot of teamwork going into it. So it was a very large bill. I think our mentor said that we did have one of the heftier bills I think we made 21 amendments towards the end. So yeah, a lot of teamwork, a lot of cooperation, but also what Holly said is that we made really good friends through it, and half our Zoom chats would just be us catching up by the end or like telling how our day was and stuff. And yeah, it was a great experience.
That is super great to hear. No, that's something that I've sort of gotten from these chats, talking to a lot of youth members. They find this experience quite the idea that there are people out there who are sort of like-minded and are similarly passionate about issues is it can be really inspiring for youth members. So it's good to hear that that's sort of been a similar experience for both of you. The idea that yes, like there are people out here who care as much about these issues as I do. And we're going to work together on something we think is really valuable. So that's wonderful. Um, my next question is about the youth aspect of this bill. So obviously this is a youth bill. It's being presented by young people to Queensland Parliament. Parliamentarians will read this bill. Why do you think it was important that a bill like this was discussed at Youth Parliament? Do you think there's a inherent like youth perspective that is important to this bill? I'll start with you this time, Laura.
Yeah, I think especially coming from an environmental perspective, with the crisis we're in at the moment and the uncertainty with everything environmental, and now that's taken a bit of a back burner at the moment just because of everything going on, that we are still the generation that is going to be most impacted by this, that we are going to see the most environmental change through our lives. We are going to be the ones that are going to have to come up with the solutions to the problems that we are currently facing in the next few years. So I think the perspective of a youth, or of young people, particularly on a issue that is so important to young people and important to a lot of young people. There's not many that you would really talk to anymore who don't care about the environment around. It's becoming a bit of a more widespread thing around the youth. So getting that perspective from someone or from a generation that will be directly impacted by it is definitely important for particularly older generations to understand where we're coming from with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's we've all sort of felt that yeah, this is obviously an issue that affects us predominantly as the younger generation. So it's the onus is on us in a way to sort of push these causes. I'll turn to you, Holly. What do you think about the sort of youth aspect of this bill?
Of course, quite similar to Laura. And I discussed it a lot in my speech as well. I think that the damage that has been done is something that, you know, has only been implemented in the past 200 years. And within that span of time, it's gotten to the point where we are reaching a boiling point. It is getting to that stage where it is almost irreversible. And as the generation of today and of tomorrow, we are going to be 100% the ones that have to live with these consequences, that are going to have to endure a life with a ecosystem and with an environment that has been, you know, fluctuating and thrown into a whim. Like, it's scary. It is absolutely a scary time. And on behalf of not only our future selves, but our children and our grandchildren, we owe it to them. We owe it to them to take a stand here. We are the last ones who can actually do anything about this. Beyond our generation, it's going to be too late. So it is absolutely up to us. So it's something that's quite inspiring, like a call to action almost, something that we didn't ask for, but something that I think we are prepared for regardless. We are capable of it, of making these changes that we need.
That's really inspiring. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's, you know, it's not something we asked for, but we're the last vestige, the people that have to create that change. Absolutely. My next question is about the debate itself, the debate about this bill. So obviously, this year especially, the bill writing process has been sort of largely collaborative, I'd say. Like, yes, there are sort of, there are obviously amendments and there is debate, but I've found that most committees have sort of worked together more than ever to prepare these bills. But I am interested to know sort of more about the major sticking points between the two subcommittees. What was the most contentious point today during debate, do you think? I'll start with you, Holly.
From a personal aspect, I think I actually liked when the other people got involved. In terms of when they brought up that point about light pollution, that was actually my initial bill idea, was doing something in regards to light pollution. As somebody who is especially passionate about turtles and sea turtles, for me, I kind of thought about it as not necessarily having to police it, but coming at it from an aspect where, you know, we were able to inspire the community to care about these turtles enough to want to turn their lights off to protect them. You know, so those sorts of things, where it was debated that our animals and our ecosystems would have to take, you know, a back seat again, like they have been doing for the past few decades. I feel like that kind of struck a bit of a nerve for me, because that's always been my greatest priority, is making sure that their voice is finally heard, that we finally understand what we are currently facing, what our animals are currently facing, our wildlife, our environment, and we take steps to putting them first for a change.
Very interesting. I'm interested to hear your perspective as well, Laura. What was I guess, the rationale behind the refuting team and why they made certain decisions with their amendments?
Yeah, so like I said before, of course, we're all incredibly passionate people, and you can definitely see that in Holly. Holly is such a passionate person. And so caring that when we got this bill, we read through it, and we're like, oh, these are great points. These are amazing. We want to do all of this, but some of them just aren't. They wouldn't be legislated in an actual real life scenario. So we did have to go back through it with a more logical and reasonable, and be like, look, in the best possible scenario, and if we did just want this as just a youth bill that we're kind of making is not going to go anywhere, absolutely, we fully want, you know, turn off all the lights on the coast, we're all for that. But we've also got to think about the human aspect of it, and we had to think about the social and the economic, and making sure that it is sustainable for future years to come, which means slowly ramping up to it rather than just going straight away to 80% solar energy when we're not at all in a position, as Queensland currently stands, to just dive straight into that we need to slowly work up and think about how regulations, like saying that everyone needs solar energy, I think that was where we butted a little bit. It would just be unreasonable to certain populations. Like there are certainly people who won't be able to afford to do that, and giving out government grants to everyone would not be probable at all. And so, yeah, that we just had to go through, we agreed with everything they stated. And we kind of got this as well from sponsoring team. We met back up a few days ago, been like, oh, we really liked your amendments, but we need something to debate on. So, yeah, definitely like-minded, but we just had to go through it a bit more reasonable and try to think more on the human aspect of it, because we're also focused on wildlife. And also think, how can we include the general public into the government regulations a bit more, because so much, even though it's for people, it doesn't involve people. So including increasing transparency by allowing public records of emissions and stuff like that.
And I think that was what was so positive, though, about the sponsoring and the refuting team, was that we were able to, you know, focus on those two different aspects, but ultimately come together and create that bill that, you know, had both wildlife and both humans' interest at heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from QYP when you're learning about the parliamentary process, is that it's rarely competitive in a way. It's more about refining these bills in a way that makes it more sort of tangible and sort of easier to adopt. So no, that makes total sense what you've been saying. I do have to let you go, I'm afraid. I believe we're running into our next session, but I wanted to thank both of you for joining me for this interview. I hope you've enjoyed your time at QYP, and I want to congratulate yourselves and your committees for the great work you've done in presenting this bill. It is something really special, and you can be safe in the knowledge that this will be presented to parliamentarians, and this will be presented to people who can potentially make some real change here in Queensland. So congratulations. Thanks for joining me for this interview, and enjoy the rest of your time here at Queensland Youth Parliament.
Thank you.